Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/malicious compliance. In today's episode, you want the school tour to be memorable? Careful what you ask for. My manager thought hiding my quota would make me work more. He said to stop everyone, so by God I stopped everyone. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. You want the school tour to be memorable? Careful what you ask for. My college years, back when I was an overworked, irritated, cranky little ST. I'm still a little ST, but I'm less cranky and overworked now. This story happened during spring tours during my junior year. Incoming prospects were being shown around campus. The engineering students such as myself were burned out with year-end projects, and the deans were busy bragging about how awesome this campus was and how educational it would be to come here, while neglecting to mention the FG price tag. Okay, I might still be a little bitter about the whole college experience thing. Anyway, my roommate and fellow engineering student, Ben, and I were frantically trying to finish up our lab reports in time for submission when the dean of engineering waltzed through the big double doors to the lab. We were behind because our tutoring jobs both ran super long, and we weren't allowed to leave before the students. The dean ordered us to stop what we were doing and to clean up the lab immediately. Ben and I looked around, noting all the boxes of lab supplies that were left out by delivery people, and pointed out that A, we really needed to get this lab report done, 10% of our grade, FFS, and B, hey, not our mess, and not our job. The dean countered by saying that if we didn't comply, he'd tell our lab instructor to give us zeros on the assignment anyway, that it was our fault for not being more prepared, and finished by saying, you need to make this lab spotless. We want the tour to be memorable for these new students, and you will help to make it memorable. The lab instructor heard the last half of the rant, as he walked in the door about the same time as the dean walked back out. He sighed and shook his head. Sorry, guys, tell you what, I'll try to push back the submission deadline an hour for you guys. Fair? Ben and I both shrugged, already resigned to the fact that the lab instructor, while sincere, had a very minimal idea of how computers worked and certainly had no idea how to change a submission deadline. I pushed Ben out of the way of the computer. You start. I'll finish the BSing here. It was universally acknowledged that I was the best writer in the class. Despite dyslexia, I had been raised by an English major mother and thus knew how to write absolute volumes about stuff I knew nothing about. In this case, I actually did know the assignment, so I figured I'd use spell check as a crutch and slam this bugger out. My roomie got started. I got typing. 45 minutes later, I had our assignment finished and submitted, so I went to go help Ben with unpacking of boxes. Doofus wouldn't let me near the box crusher. Knowing my habits of experimentation and recklessness, that was probably a good idea on his part. I was the lucky bugger who found the box of industrial breath masks, the big particle ones that made you look vaguely like Bane from Batman, and got a brilliant idea. Donning one, I turned to Ben. What did the good doctor say about making the prospective's visit memorable? He gave me the stink eye. Would you stop fooling with that and help? I am helping. I protested, pitching my voice deeper. I'm also planning. He threw a box at my head. Practice your evil villain monologue later. We both know I'm the anti-hero, I shot back, blocking the box. You're the villain. You even have a goatee. He stroked it thoughtfully, looking evil. Good point. Anyway, listen, I ordered. Then in great detail, I told him my plan. Now, a little backstory scenery details. The engineering building was built into a hill. The first and second floors both had ground-level access at right angles in the architecture. We were on the first floor. The double lab doors opened out to face the double doors about 12 feet away that led outside, to the east. This was so big lab equipment could be wheeled into the lab with minimal fuss. Walk up the hill, and you could wrap around the building to the south entrance if you so chose. Spoiler alert, we were about to so choose. Ben and I finished putting the supplies away, then geared up. We donned the breath masks, lab goggles, full lab coats, heavy-duty chemical gloves and coveralls, shoe covers, hair covers, the works. You could hardly tell our ethnicity, much less who we were. Then, we chose our weapons. I opted for a beaker, which I half filled with dish soap and hot water, and shook like one of those shake weight, TM, things I saw on the late night shopping channel that one time I drank too much root beer and couldn't fall asleep. I also grabbed some tongs, because why not? Ben opted for a voltmeter that he taped random crap to and very carefully covered in foil, to make it look even more scientific and scary. He coupled that with a fire extinguisher that he pulled off the wall and dipped in some dish soap suds to make it look like it had already been used. Appropriately geared up and armed, we crouched by the lab's double doors and peered through the crack between them. There was no center post grate for spying. We were just in time. The dean was there, with about 12 to 15 prospective students and their families. The prospectives looked bored. The parents looked like they were trying to feign interest. The little kids in the group were fidgety. The dean looked pompous. It was the perfect combination. I almost ruined it by snickering, but I was able to restrain myself by biting my tongue as hard as I could. The dean was in the process of pontificating on all the amazing things this lab had to offer, and how we were the best engineering school in the area. We were in Bumf Midwest, it's not like there was any competition for a couple 100 miles, and how the lab that they were about to see was the safest. I was wondering why he didn't do this speech in the damned lab pre-framing. I guess the lab was nothing special when Ben nudged me. Oh yeah, that was our cue. We backed up, then blew through those doors like a rival linebacker through our football team's defense, screaming "Look out! It's gonna blow," at the top of our lungs. I made sure to slop a little foam out my beaker as I ran, just to add to the ambience. We crashed through the outer doors and took off up the hill and around the side of the building. Glancing back as we took the corner, I saw the first of the prospectives, the ones with reflexes faster than our team's defense, apparently running away from the building. Ben and I made tracks. We got in the south doors, ran down the back stairs, and re-entered the lab from the other side. The double lab doors had swung shut in our absence, but a peek through the crack showed that it wouldn't have mattered. The dean was outside trying to round up the tour, who had scattered to the four winds. We stripped off our gear in record time. I accidentally pantsed myself, I was in such a hurry, and put everything away. We rinsed out the beakers. Ben tossed the voltmeter chimera in his bag for breakdown later, and I hung the extinguisher back up. Then, we grabbed a few textbooks and sat down at one of the tables, pretending to be studious. I told Ben to turn his book right side up for more realism. We didn't have to hurry. It was a good 5 minutes before the doors opened and the dean entered, leading the dubious tour. Man, if looks to kill, we'd have been dead and buried on the spot. He ushered the tour through awfully quickly, given the length of his prior speech, and gave us one last death glare as he headed out the other side. A couple of the kids looked at me questioningly. I winked at them, they nodded, started snickering, and continued on their merry way. Ben and I were recipients of a lecture later from the dean on proper decorum and taking pride in our school, or some such baloney. I interrupted to ask innocently, why? Was the lab not clean enough? Or did we not do enough to make the tour memorable, which led to our dismissal from his presence due to blood pressure issues? A new rule was added to the school shortly thereafter. In the laboratory section, students shall not handle any lab supplies without a faculty member present. However, we were never asked an A. We were banned from putting new supplies away again. Got an A on the report, by the way. I'm not sure if it was good enough to warrant that, but the lab instructor had a sense of humor, and I never turned down a good grade. My manager thought hiding my quota would make me work more. I started working at a chain supermarket in November 2019. I worked as a Cap 2 associate, stocking shelves, unloading trucks, stuff like that. My supervisor when I started was amazing. She had some higher expectations than possible for me only working there for a month, but generally, I would get a quota, say, 8 hours, and would have to get that section done in that time frame. Any time exceeding the 8-hour workday I had would warrant someone getting sent over from a smaller section of our department to help me wrap it up. Skip ahead another month and she has to go on leave for about a month. My average quota gets up to about 14 to 16 hours a day, and our manager gets moved to the night shift. In comes a new manager. This guy was a nightmare. I stopped getting help in the juice and water section that I worked, and ended up with a few large pallets left at night for the overnight cruise, because like I said, I was getting 14 to 16 hour quotas to fulfill in my 8-hour shift. Once the DM stopped helping him make the sheets and gave him control, he started pulling me to the side and constantly told me to work faster, to which I would reply, I'm working as fast as I can, I'm getting double the amount of work to do in the same amount of time. He doesn't listen. Then comes the first week of February. I check my department, still working in juice and water. Great, my specialty. I look over at the quota. It's blank. I think nothing of it, get my usual amount of pallets, and don't finish them all. This goes on for about a week before he comes up to me again. OP, you aren't getting your quota done on time. I can't get it done on time if I can't see the amount of time it's supposed to take, plus it hasn't changed in quantity since January. I'm still getting a bunch of freight to move to the floor. You really need to start finishing your quota either way, overnights are complaining. Can you at least send someone over from paper and chem? The fastest aisles, usually done in 4 hours. No, you have to do what you can do. Here comes the malicious compliance. I still wasn't getting my quotas printed, but everyone else was. I timed how long it took me to unload and stock a pallet, and in Lockhart, what they use to haul TVs to your vehicle and such, my average time was 1:30 for each pallet, which I had to move 2,500 pounds of liquids by myself onto the floor using a normal jack. Carts took me about 30 minutes. My average night had 2 carts and 7-8 pallets from the GM truck, and the product that gets pulled in the morning. Every day we had to unload trucks for a different department that worked at the same time as us, and take an hour lunch. That takes up about 1:20 out of my 8-hour workday. We also had to pull everything unloaded from the GM truck to the floor for overnights an hour before closing. From then on I started checking out the pallets and carts, then wrote in the time that it would take me on the quota sheets. Still around 13 hours of labor on a light night, including unloading the other truck for the other department. I stop unloading the trucks that come in, and taking half lunches and no breaks. They required 15-minute breaks 2 hours before and after lunch. I ask my friend in the aisle next to me if they can grab the coffee, tea, syrups, anything else that was technically theirs that I still had to stock for them. They had no problem with it, and it took about a full pallet and a cart away from my time. I started staying late and stopped pulling GM freight for the overnight crew. After a large check full of overtime and scolding from higher-ups on skipping my breaks, my manager finally says something. "Why aren't you helping out with the trucks? You told me to just worry about my quota. You need to start helping out your coworkers. And you can't skip breaks and lunches and work late. That gets me in trouble, and you. Well, I need to get the quota done. You told me that's what I had to do no matter what. You need to get it done and still help. I can't do that in the time I'm given. I can see I'm getting nowhere, just go." Every day after that I started getting not only quotas, but 2 additional people would be unloading juice and water pallets with me, and make me go to lunch with them and on breaks. I quit in March to move to VA, but I would never work there again. He said to stop everyone, so by God I stopped everyone. So I worked for unspecified military branch. To be honest, this could happen in any branch. I was stuck working as a gate guard for the day. This is essentially you standing by the gate with a radio to ask the officer in charge, OIC, of the range if the person trying to enter is allowed in, and it's the easiest job on earth. These ranges are so far in the sticks that you can't even find them by accident. If they're here, it's for the range. So some mid-ranking officer pulls up while they're firing on the range and the radio is going nuts with chatter. So no one hears me ask about rank individual dickhead being allowed on range. However, I've seen him already today, and I hear his radio in the vehicle echoing everything I say. Obviously this guy belongs here, so I tell him to go in and just check in at the command tent. DH, well, what happens if I'm a spy? I've heard this joke several times by now, so I say then you're a spy with really poor priorities, sir, which got a laugh out of the last 2 individuals. Not this one. Cue the ass-chewing, as I'm apparently just a lazy idiot who can't do his job, and is an embarrassment to the military. As he's ranting I just sorta stare at him, which prompts, "Oh, you're eyeballing me? You want to fight me? Fantastic, this guy is just peachy." The radio finally goes quiet long enough to call him in. Obviously he gets through, and obviously I'm not too happy. Cue me stopping everybody until I get a response. Every single one of the few dozen range staff members that went to get lunch, many of whom I know, one at a time, can rank name enter. The high-ranking enlisted that is in charge of the entire range staff and has been coming and going all day? Better ask. The guy they sent to get food midday? Had to wait 10 minutes while we wait for the range to calm down again. Got my food though. Then commanding officer, CO, in charge of the entire installation shows up. CO, hey man, I have a radio and they're inspecting me. I'll call it in. Me, sorry sir, gonna have to have you wait until I get a response. I'll try my radio. Oh, I see, gate guard, WTF is wrong with you? Can you not exercise some goddamn judgment? Me, take it up with rank name sir, he decided I can't do that. Oh, I see, well that's stupid. Me, I have rank name here FO dash. Oh, I see, fucking fascinating. Knock it off. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.